she get the job she wanted? So that car that gave her problems.
Oh, my slides are there. Thank you first off for having me up here. I'm representing a team effort, and we're really excited. I was a little nervous today. I'm not on the media side of things, so what do I talk about? But I'd like to call up onto stage actually a key collaborator in this, and our client, Jim Bacharach of First Citizens Bank, because we're talking about voice today, and a big part of that is dialogue. So, if you would. Thank you. Many of you will know him. Great. Following on, you'll catch on quickly, I'm pretty glib. So we made an Alexa skill, and we're going to talk about it today. And first off, talking about Alan and Gerritsen and our approach to innovation, a little bit of a dirty word. Sorry if it's the header of today's conversation. But first off, broadening what that really means to us. And I think since I've been at the agency, we've evolved it significantly beyond a lab, a garage with tinkerers, working with 3D printers and drones, into something that's much more a core part of our offering. And that comes to creating experiences. Experiences that people can feel, can touch, and more importantly, that brands start to show the actions behind what they are talking about. And that comes to life, most importantly, by being human. And Kathy, you set it up at the beginning of this today. A lot of what we're talking about today is about human connections. And so this effort that I have the privilege of being up here with Jim to talk about was collaborative. Ideas came from everyone, no matter what their discipline was, in terms of definitions within the agency walls. It was also about diverse perspectives coming to light, and we know diversity has such a broad meaning in today's world, but at the end of the day, it's about people with different backgrounds sharing their insights and making things better. And when we talk about experiences and we talk about innovation, it's ultimately about being helpful and being utility that gives us value. And so that's where A&G has kind of founded that, and having a partner like Jim, a client that can jump at that. And so I'd love for him to do a little bit of the talking here, as opposed to the device that I spent a lot of time with during this project.
Thanks, Tim. Well, first of all, you're probably all asking, first who? Well, it's First Citizens Bank.
Oh, you can jump that.
And we are a $36 billion bank, over 500 branches and offices in 20 states, coast to coast. Been around a little over 120 years, founded by a family and still managed and controlled in terms of ownership by that family, real legacy. And we're known for, not surprisingly, because of that family connection, of really being very down-to-earth, helpful, human, which isn't always the case in the banking industry, and a great in-branch experience for our customers. And so it's that helpfulness and human projection and sensibilities that is what our brand is about. And in some ways, maybe delivered in old-fashioned ways. And part of the discussion today is how we might do that in more contemporary ways. But to help you understand a little bit about the brand, I've just got one spot from our current campaign that'll give you a flavor for that. If we can run that.
You've got the button.
I think we are the bank that cares. And I think we demonstrate that in 1,000 different ways every day. And we understand that customers are the ones that allow us to keep our doors open, that pay our salaries, that allow us to stay in business. And so the customer experience is never a small piece of the conversation. It's always the biggest piece of the conversation here. First Citizens Bank, forever first.
So what are our challenges? I think that four in particular come to mind. The first two really are categorical. I mean, they're the big guys, and we are never going to outspend them, nor are we going to have the wherewithal to match them in everything we do. So we need to be selective and smart about that. Again, we're not alone with that challenge. The second is how do we become relevant to millennials? Again, our core customer base, not surprisingly, are Gen X and Boomers, and there are different places in their lives, different sensibilities, different expectations, and while the money may be with those older demographic segments, the fact is obviously the future is with millennials. So gaining relevancy there. I think the next is how do we translate that in-branch experience we're famous for, we have such equity in, to digital, to self-service, and extend again that what we stand for, what people expect from us, but in different channels. So that's really the challenge picture for us and where this fits, and I'll turn it back to Tim to continue.
So this actual assignment that led to the Alexa skill, obviously, we were asked to generate engagement. It was to go beyond and extend the campaign that you just saw into new mediums, or to broaden it, and more importantly, to go beyond the measures of impressions and even lead forms into, are we doing something with people? And so before we threw spaghetti at the wall and could see what would stick, we wanted to take a thoughtful approach to this. And really a lot of what we learned through this process is akin to what we would do for a number of design efforts, with added emphasis on being thoughtful, because we couldn't see a lot of what we were doing. So let's define engagement. It was, everything we agreed to was willingly, an action a person willingly participates in that creates that deeper connection, builds a sense of trust between that person and First Citizens Bank. And then we thought, okay, we can do that. We think we can do that. And then what is the organizing idea? What is the platform that we want to build that off of? And it came down to this notion that after listening to the participants in the campaign, which were all real associates, they all wanted to help people make their money more useful. And so, as we thought about it, we were like, okay, well, what would be more useful? And I've called this the duh slide, because I think many of us who have the access to the same research everywhere we know that millennials, the audience that everyone wants, are doing some of these things, whether it be settling down later in life. We know that individuals are getting married later. What used to be 23 is now 29, is now 33, et cetera. We also know that while we get called frivolous and selfish and maybe spend too much at restaurants, we want greater value out of everything. We also know that we're the generation that has gone to the most colleges, has incurred the most debt because of that. But one of the things that we're not good at as millennials is our finances, and they want to learn more about that. And also, finally, they look for brands that have that stance, and we know this, that as Jim called out, we as First Citizens have earned trust with the people who have engaged with us. We have shown them that we are there for the long haul. How do we extend that? And then we balance that against other things that we were seeing. And for me and the creative team, it came down to, we heard these voices of real people. Voice suddenly stuck in our head. And every time I say Alexa in my house, something happens. A light goes off and a prompt comes in, and it can drive you a little insane at times. But we also know that it's where people are going in terms of search. 50% of search is going to happen through voice. We also know that we start to record and capture intent at a much greater rate. And then why Alexa, Google Home, all of these things, it holds 70% of the smart speaker market. So all of this culminated in, I think the pitch was, I think we should have FCB associates read the answers to FAQs on Alexa. And thankfully, we got the green light based off of that. Did you want to?
Yeah, so we decided, the fact is the industry, not just our bank, but the industry has a trust problem. And we know from research that the way to engender trust is to help people. And frankly, our industry has done a magnificent job of making things seem really complicated and complex. And so we wanted to take one of those products, mortgages, that's among the most complex and most complicated, and oh, by the way, something that many millennials, again, run up against, stub their toe on, however you want to put it, and help them, understand how to navigate their way through that. Now, so it's a highly researched, classic considered purchase kind of product. So again, people are looking for answers. So that's number one. Number two, we as a bank have sort of had fallen into the old tried and true way of marketing mortgages, which is a polite way of saying tired. And so we needed a breath of fresh air there. And I think the last part is that, again, going back to becoming relevant with millennials, we wanted to change perceptions of the bank, among external constituencies in terms of, yes, we're known for being helpful and very nice, not necessarily for being innovative. We also wanted to change perceptions internally in terms of, we could at times sit at the cool kids table and do some innovative things. And so that's how we got to the decision about mortgages being the focus of this skill.
I should call out, we've never done this before. Neither one of us had built a Alexa skill. And what that required was a winding road. We were prepared and we were open and honest about what we did and did not know, where we needed to explore further, and where we needed to take some guesses along the way. As Jim called out, we had to gain focus on that. So narrowing it down to mortgages was step one. But thinking about, if you've already had a mortgage, do you really want to have a conversation with an AI? So we focused on first-time home buyers. And one of the key insights that the strategy team showed us was people are afraid to talk to experts in the field when they don't know about it already, which is this catch-22 that we had to face, and really why this was such a perfect solution, because you could have a conversation, you could ask the questions at home to be prepared to then go and talk to a loan officer about this. And more research. We talked to as many people as we humanly could, whether that be the experts at the bank, hearing what they were facing challenges with. We talked to our own people who had just bought homes or were in the process as well. We tapped into search data, both paid and kind of what our website analytics could do, because if people were competitively buying terms for Google, well, we knew that was something that was relevant. So the more competition there was, the more likely we were going to try to get an answer to that question. And lastly, tapping into the platform itself and working with Amazon. And we did that in two parts. We did that one to help us develop the skill, and the other one was to help us with the media. Because the other part of this is while we could build it, we had to have people use it. And with that, we were able to target people who we knew had a device connected to their phone. And I'm, again, as I already said, not a media person, so I can't speak to how we did that, but my team, if you were looking for us, is over there, and you can find out more about those details. But it was a really exciting opportunity that came with a lot of iteration. We would have the copywriter read the answers to Jim and team, and it sounded good because we're human. And then he's like, well, I like that answer, make this adjustment. And then we had Alexa do it. And then it sounded really robotic. Man, when Alexa tries to give you a phone number, it sounds weird unless you program it correctly. And then we had compliance. The last speaker just spoke about compliance and being involved in the effort. We had to make sure that our answers, while spoken, were accurate. And all of this came to success. We launched it right before Christmas. I remember getting the email notification that Amazon had approved for us. And we've been in market since early January to kind of align and get some mass before the big buzz in the Carolinas, which starts a little earlier. The home buying process or market is more February, March compared to our summertime. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about what we've seen since then.
So the campaign support itself, the agency did a fantastic job of making our dollars go really far in terms of reach, and not only reach itself, but in terms of engendering engagement. I think the ultimate punchline on this, and it's one that even bankers understand, is that this campaign generated a 14x return on expense. And it's rare to get bankers to smile when you've spent some of their money, but they were smiling about this, so that not only was this subjectively a cool thing to do, but it really impacted the business, and I think has changed mindsets internally along the way.
And it's become a learning engine for us as well, because there are answers that we haven't put into the skill yet, to questions that we were maybe cautious in round one to put in there, put in the answer, but more importantly that we just, through that dialogue, we tried to script it and have people flow through it, and really what it comes down to is we never know what that next question is going to be, but we're learning that now, and so we have the opportunity to update it, revise it, and put to market new content in this channel, as well as thinking ahead of our other channels, because ultimately this is all living within the brand. And shameless plug, please feel free to visit this landing page, which will give you a nice link to download it, or you can visit it on your app if you already have it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good. Thank you.
Let's welcome back to the stage Anne-Marie Gerritsen.
It to the grocery store for a pack of juicy fruit. Piece by piece he chews and chews and chews, then spits the wad out on the street. 10 million ounces.
No, you're great. Thank you very much.
It's the word of the day. Our next award here is for innovation, and it honors an agency and brand pushing boundaries through the use of a new technology or platform. And I'm thrilled to announce that the Innovation Category Award goes to Allen & Gerritsen for their Client First Citizens for the campaign Amazon Alexa Home. So please welcome back Tim Parcell from Allen & Gerritsen back to the stage, and Jim Bacharach from First Citizens Bank.
Long time no see. Thank you.